It's getting harder to fire people for using pot. Groundbreaking lawsuits are making employers and states rethink the way the workplace treats weed. The stories all go something like this: an employee is ordered to take a drug test. They have a medical Most states have statutes giving companies the right to drug test the people they hire and to fire them for coming to work under the influence. In the ones that don't, in July, New Jersey became the 14th state to strengthen workplace protections for medical marijuana users. The courts are, in the past 2 years, workers who lost jobs because of medical marijuana use won cases in Connecticut, Rhode Island, Arizona, and Delaware, with judges finding employers violated medical marijuana statutes. At the crux of the earliest lawsuits filed on behalf of fired weed smokers started popping up in places like Colorado and California, early adopters of sanctioned pot use around the late aughts. These cases ran. Related video: Nevada becomes first state to ban employers from rejecting job applicants because of failed drug test provided by viewer. A recent Massachusetts case showed one potential way around this precedent. Christina Barboot: in states without explicit protections for employees who toke, lawyers are starting to get creative. Recreational use: Whitney Salert, a Nevada-based employment lawyer, says the legislature updated the law to reflect reality. A lot of people are getting high. The state is just. James Reedy, a New Hampshire-based management-side labor lawyer, says employers are beginning to catch up, as well. The tight labor market.
Raindrop, drop top, top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.